Hey guys, it's Bronson. I'm so excited to talk with you today about something that's really passionate to me, credit cards versus cash. A lot of people wonder, should I be using cash? A lot of gurus, such as Dave Ramsey, talk about you should have these envelopes and you have different envelopes for different purposes. You put cash in there and basically use cash for things like entertainment or clothing or other sorts of things. And that can work for some people. And it really is important to consider and budgeting and all that stuff. But if you haven't considered using credit cards to your advantage, I've been able to use them over the last 10 to 15 years to get tens of thousands of dollars of travel, including airfare, hotels, tours, all types of things. So it's something to be able to really, it's important to consider what you could be missing out on by not considering credit cards. So we're gonna go over the benefits, the pros and cons of cash and debit cards versus credit cards. We're gonna do it in 3 easy steps. Why don't you go ahead and smash that like button. I'll bring the fire on my end. You can bring the fire there by smashing that like button. And here we go. All right, so this is step number 1. I call it rolling in cash. Everybody wants to roll in cash, right? It's just awesome. You see the rapper videos, people rolling in cash. It's just like really sexy to think about lots of money everywhere. A lot of people think it's great, right? But there are pros and cons of holding actual physical cash, and we're gonna go into that. So the pros really are you spend only what you have if you were to be all in cash. What that means is, let's say you have a paycheck and you make, I don't know, let's just say you're making $1,000 a week and you cash the check. After taxes, it's less than that, but you have the physical cash. So you know this cash goes for this. You can basically allocate it how you want. That's why the envelopes are very important, right? They can help, they can be educational. You get the budget going. You can kind of say, this goes to my rent, this goes here. This stuff really is 101. And there's guys like Dave Ramsey that talk about this. And if you haven't started with this, it's not a bad thing to look into. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, man, I really, I've been following Dave Ramsey or some of these gurus and I want to go beyond 101 to more 102, 103, 104. I did this video on ways that Dave Ramsey can really not make you wealthy. And so if you want to kind of learn the next steps, you can check out that video up there just on some advanced techniques on growing your wealth. So basically, like I said, it's educational. This is an educational process that you learn about how money really works. If you have physical cash, it's harder to spend what you don't have because you're only operating out of physical cash. Same as if you were to use debit cards and you were to do the same thing and not spend what you don't have. So it's tactile, it's physical, and of course, everyone loves to make it rain. So those are the pros. The cons really when it comes to physical cash is that you have all this money can become bulky. It's hard to carry around a lot of money. If you have all your savings literally under your mattress, which some people do, or they have it hidden somewhere, it can be lost, it can be stolen. It just gets to be inconvenient. You have to carry this cash around. Second thing is that you have to go to banks or ATMs to be able to get more cash. And then you've got to get the change to put it in the envelopes and do the budgeting and all this stuff. And it can be really challenging. It's a lot of work to do that. And really it costs you time, and time really is money, correct? Everybody says that, but it really is true because it's a trade-off. If you're using your time to go do this stuff, it just gives you less time to be able to do other things that you enjoy or to be able to make money or do other things that have meaning for you. Third thing is that really that you get no points or no perks for using cash. And then you get a really sad face, Bronson. And maybe you get a sad face on your face as well that you're not getting points. And like I shared, I've been able to use this for years and years to be able to get tens of thousands of dollars worth of travel points, all types of things, which are really important to consider. So those are the pros and cons of cash. We're going to get into credit cards and why you should consider what are the pros and cons there. All right, so this is step number 2. I call it charge it, baby. Right? We all want to get that credit card out and just charge it, not have to worry and think about it. Well, there are a lot of pros to using credit cards, and there are some cons as well. So we're going to talk about the pros. Really, when it comes to pros with credit cards, there is something that I love, and I call it free money. They basically want to give you points, 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 and I'm going to give an example of this in a second, but basically how credit cards make their money is they take a transaction fee. So if you go spend money at a retailer, maybe you go to Target or you buy something online, typically 2 to 3%, or sometimes even more, is basically paid to the credit card companies for completing that transaction. Now what they do, the credit card companies, when they get this money, they actually they share some of it, they can share some of it with points to you as a consumer. So that's how basically you are able to share and get some money back from what you're spending. So I love the points because you can use them for things like travel. As I mentioned, I've got tens of thousands of dollars. If I were to add up all the travel benefits that I've gotten, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000 over the last 10 years, which is pretty amazing, maybe even more. But looking at this, basically this was something that happened to me. I was spending around $15,000 every few months for travel. I did a lot of meals with physicians, my consulting gig I used to do previously. And in the process of doing that, I had a card that basically multiplied the points. It was called the Chase Sapphire Reserve. It's a great card. It was basically, it multiplied the spend by 3 times when you'd spend it on things like restaurants and travel. So I was able to get 45,000 points every quarter. So what that meant basically with 45,000 points, for those that aren't familiar, that's about a free trip to Europe. 50,000 points is about a free trip to Europe. So every 3 months, I was able to get all of these points and able to take these trips. And I didn't always take the trips immediately, but I've got the points. And now, as you know, if you follow me, like I love to travel. And so I'm basically using that. I recently got back from Iceland. It was really amazing. I'm already planning my next trip, which is awesome. So basically you get points, points, points. These are amazing. If you have a business, if you have travel expenses, whatever you can do, there are ways that you can put all those on there. You can get a lot of points, particularly if you have money that you're spending regularly for certain things. And cards are specific to certain types of expenses. So you can we'll look into that in a sec. But second thing really are the perks. So not only do you get points, which really have a cash value that you can get travel, you can get other things with, but there's perks that come with it, such as the lounge pass that you can use at the airport for the airport lounges. You can basically use them for warranty protection. Electronics, if they go bad within the first few years or extends the warranty by a year, it's really easy. You just send them the paperwork, they'll send you a new one, or you buy a new one, they'll replace it. Car rental insurance when I travel, pre-boarding for airlines. These are all like pretty cool benefits as well that come with it. So not only you get the points, you get some benefits as well. And then I wanted to say something as well as far as credit cards. A lot of people think of what is the problem with using credit cards, right? And a lot of it is that people spend and then they don't pay, right? So you can basically, have you ever had something where you get bills, and I get a lot of different statements and bills, and I don't always get to a bill or pay it in time. And that's where credit cards can get you in trouble. But there's this wonderful thing called autopay. And autopay is amazing because autopay will basically allow you to just each month, it will automatically pay for you whatever your balance is. So I try to leave it with 0 balance at the end of each month. And again, I only use credit cards with money that I have to buy things that are, I'm not spending more than what I have, right? So that's really the point of all this. If you're interested in looking at certain credit cards, of which credit cards could be good for you to consider, you can check out this video up here. It just shows some of the different credit cards that you should consider right now to be able to look at. So those are some of the pros. The cons we're going to get into over here because there are some cons with credit cards. And as you know, a lot of people say, oh, don't use credit cards, cut up your credit cards, it's terrible, whatever. Well, again, it comes down to the principle of that you can spend more than what you have. And if you're spending more than what you have, and especially with credit cards, you are not going to be a happy individual because they will happily give you way more credit, they'll give you way more money than what you need, and then you're stuck paying the bill. And what can happen is if you don't pay that bill, that it can affect your credit score. Ouch. Now your credit score affects your ability to buy a house, to be able to get, all kinds of things. Whatever, you're going to buy a car, you're going to do certain things, you need a loan, you go into business, your credit score, even some employers even look at that as well. So it is really important that your credit score is important because it shows, are you going to be responsible with what you have? And it comes back to this principle of spending what you have responsibly with credit cards. You're not spending more than what you're taking in. So credit cards are not just like, hey, I'm just going to put it on the credit card and I'm going to figure out how to pay for it later. That's probably not a good approach. But when you use auto pay and you're spending what you have and you're basically there, you can spend within your means. Second con is that the interest rates can be very high. So again, if you do not use auto pay, if you do not spend within your means and you have a balance at the end of each month, you're paying typically an 18 to 22% annual rate, which is really high. For investments that we do in multifamily, like that's a really good return annually. If you were to get that positive return, well, this is like a negative investment. This is just like money that you could be earning money on, and instead of earning money, you're owing money on. So if you have credit card debt, I just suggest that you start paying it off immediately. And so maybe you're hoping that I will tell you something different about credit cards, but I would say credit card responsible use is basically not carrying a balance at the end of the month. Sometimes there are cards that have lower interest rates where they're sometimes in the 6 to 8% range, which for some situations, some people, okay, maybe there'd be a situation that could apply to. But again, I'm not giving you specific advice. I'm just giving you my own experience and some educational content. So there is an investment cost. If you have high interest on your credit card, it allows you to carry that balance, but it does not allow you to basically be able to get those great returns. And we see returns commonly, double-digit returns, working with multifamily and other types of investments that we do. So anyway, we compared cash and credit, give you some pros and cons of each. Now we're going to talk about some specific scenarios about why using cash or why using credit could be good for you. So stick around for step number 3. All right, so step number 3, what should you do? So you got cash, you got credit cards, and I want to say it really comes down to your own personal situation. I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but I'm going to give you a couple scenarios and you can see where you fit. So if you're someone that you spend money right away, you spend beyond your means, you have trouble restraining, you don't pay on time, this is something I would say stick to cash, because cash really and debit cards and just spending within your means in that way, it really is 101. And it is really important that you manage 101, you start there. Dave Ramsey has some great stuff that will help you to kind of get this going. If you feel like you can spend within your means, you have enough savings to cover, then we're going to look at this other column over here. So this is something to consider. I would say stick to cash. Second thing is, you have savings, you only spend what you have. Use auto pay, which is that great function. You don't have to worry about bills, so you don't get late payments, doesn't negatively affect your credit score. So I would say if you have savings, you have financial discipline, that you only spend what you have, you're not spending more than what you have. They say happy is the man that spends, 10, I don't know, there's some quote that's really great. I'm probably going to butcher it. But anyway, it's basically if you spend what you have, you're going to be really happy. If you spend more than what you have, you're going to be miserable. So financial discipline is really important. The third thing really is if you love points and perks. Like I mentioned, I do. I love free stuff. I love being able to find a way to make this work, and that's how I make it work. So the thing that I would encourage you to do then, if this is you, is to find the right cards for you. There's a lot of cards out there. There's a lot of different things to consider depending on what you spend, how you spend, when you spend, how much you spend. There's bonuses. There's all kinds of topics around this. There's websites that talk about all this stuff, but find the right cards for you. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you as you're considering whether to use cash, to stay with cash and envelopes and budgeting that way, or if it makes sense to move into credit cards or to do more with credit cards. But I'd love to hear from you what credit cards you use, or what was helpful for you from this, or what are some things that you're looking to do with your personal finance to help you. So if you're interested in hearing more personal finance, passive investing, other sorts of advanced strategies to create and grow wealth, especially in a time of inflation, check out this upcoming video. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.